All right, let's jump right into this explainer. When we think about building wealth, our brains usually jump straight to complex spreadsheets, crazy stock charts, and Wall Street guys screaming on trading floors. But based on the concepts from Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money, we kind of need to toss that whole image in the trash. Doing well with money actually has surprisingly little to do with how smart you are, and literally everything to do with how you behave. It's basically a high-stakes psychological video game. You could memorize all the cheat codes and study the game mechanics perfectly, but if you lose your temper, panic, or get greedy during a boss fight, yeah, it's game over. Money operates exactly the same way. Kicking things off with Level 1, the secret game of wealth, or why behavior completely overpowers math. This is literally the ultimate paradox. How does a humble janitor completely outperform a Harvard genius? It comes down purely to behavior. Take Ronald Reed, for example. He was a gas station attendant and a janitor who lived a super quiet, humble life. He didn't have a massive tax salary and he didn't hit the lottery. But when he passed away at 92, he had $8 million in the bank and left millions to his local hospital and library. His secret? Unbelievable patience and discipline. He saved small amounts regularly and let time do all the heavy lifting in the stock market. Now compare that to Richard Fuscone. He was a Harvard-educated finance executive. Brilliant guy, lived like a high roller, and took out massive loans for a giant mansion and lavish parties. But when the 2008 financial crisis hit, that debt completely crushed him and he went bankrupt. Money is an intelligence test. Ronald won through patience, while Richard lost because of greed and impatience. Moving right along to Level 2, luck, risk, and reality. Basically, the RNG, the random number generator of life. The absolute most crucial thing to grasp here is that success isn't 100% pure effort, and failure isn't 100% your fault. Take Bill Gates and his high school best friend Kent Evans. They were both absolutely brilliant. In 1968, Gates just happened to attend Lakeside School in Seattle, which was one of the only high schools in the entire world with a computer. The odds of being a teenager in the US, in Washington state, at that exact school, roughly 1 in 300 million. Gates himself admits that without that crazy 1 in a million bolt of luck, Microsoft probably wouldn't exist. Now, Kent was just as smart, just as hardworking, and they actually planned to start a company together. But tragically, Kent was killed in a mountaineering accident before they even graduated. He got hit by a 1 in a million bolt of risk. So, whenever you see these super successful influencers or young founders, keep this in mind. Be humble when things go well for you, and give yourself a break when things go wrong. Which brings us to a fascinating concept called tails. Look, it is perfectly okay to fail a lot. Why? Because the vast majority of massive life wins come from catching just one of these rare tail events. If you picture a probability curve, the tails are those extreme, super rare events way out on the edges. Think about venture capital. A firm might invest in 100 different startups, 60 of them will just completely crash and burn. 30 might do okay, but one becomes the next Uber or Airbnb, and that single win pays for every single failure combined. You don't need 100% of your ideas to work out. Whether you're trying to figure out a career or launching a YouTube channel, expect flops. They're just the cost of doing business while you wait to catch your massive tail event. Okay, Level 3, the magic of compounding. This is your ultimate power-up. Check this out. If I asked you to just add the number 8 9 times, you'd instantly say 72, right? That's linear addition. Easy. But if you multiply the number 8 by itself 9 times, your brain kind of melts because that number explodes to over 134 million. Our human brains are simply not wired to intuitively grasp how incredibly fast things grow when they multiply and compound exponentially. And here is where it gets truly staggering. Over $90 billion of Warren Buffett's wealth came after his 65th birthday. Let that sink in. He started investing seriously at age 10. By 30, he had $1 million. By 50, about 376 million. But that insane jump to over 100 billion, that happened in his later years, simply because he let his money compound. His secret weapon wasn't that he was some kind of math wizard. His secret weapon was time. He's been at it for over 80 years. As a young person, you possess an asset right now that Warren Buffett would gladly trade all his billions to get back: youth. Even saving 10 or 20 bucks a week right now lets this massive compounding engine do the heavy lifting for you later. Now, when the market inevitably drops, do not panic. You have to understand the difference between a fine and a fee. Everything in life has a price tag. A new gaming console is 500 bucks. Getting an A in a tough class costs hours of studying. The price of long-term wealth in the stock market isn't paid in cash up front. It's paid in volatility, stress, and uncertainty. When new investors see their portfolio drop 20%, they freak out. They think they did something wrong and are being hit with a fine. It's not a fine, it's just the emotional fee you have to pay for those superior returns. If you can't stomach that fee, you really shouldn't be playing the game.
Which brings us to level 4, rich versus wealthy. It's time to face the final boss.
This is the man in the car paradox, and it exposes why buying flashy stuff to get respect is a total trap. Be honest, have you ever seen someone pull up in a $200,000 supercar and thought, wow, the person driving that must be incredibly smart and interesting? No way. You immediately pictured yourself in that driver's seat getting all the attention. When we buy expensive luxury items to show off, we think people are admiring us, but really, they're just using our stuff as a prop for their own fantasies. The reality is, people respect kindness and intelligence way more than they respect a brand name shirt. There's a massive difference between the highly visible illusion of being rich and the invisible superpower of actually being wealthy. Being rich is super loud. It's all about current income and showing it off. The massive house, the flashy car, it basically just means you have enough money coming in to cover huge monthly payments. But wealth? Wealth is completely silent. It's the money you haven't spent. It's the stock sitting quietly in your portfolio, the cash chilling in your bank account. There's this story of a guy in LA who always rolled up in a brand new Porsche, looking like the definition of success. Then one day, he showed up in a beat-up old Honda. Turns out, he had leased the Porsche on a massive loan and couldn't keep up with the payments. He was rich for a fleeting moment, but he was never actually wealthy.
The ultimate takeaway is exactly what this quote highlights. Wealth is the nice cars not purchased. True wealth is silent. Real wealth is what gives you autonomy, options, and freedom, not just more stuff. True wealth is the absolute peace of mind, knowing you can walk away from a toxic job, take a vacation, or comfortably survive whatever emergency life throws at you. The absolute highest dividend that money can possibly pay is the ability to wake up every single morning and say, I can do whatever I want today.
All right, we made it to the victory screen. Let's talk about actually winning this money game in real life. You can start equipping these 4 practical steps right now to build a massive advantage. First, open a savings account and try to save 20% of your cash before you even think about spending a dime. Remember, saving is really just the gap between your ego and your income. Second, invest in yourself. Read books, learn to code, pick up new skills. You are your own best asset right now. Third, use the 24-hour rule. Before you buy something flashy, wait a day and ask yourself, do I actually want this, or do I just want people to see me with it? And fourth, start that compounding engine today. The minute you can, put small, consistent amounts into a broad index fund and just let time do its magic.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to ask yourself one fundamental question before you make your very next financial move. Are you playing the short-term game of looking rich today, trying to impress strangers who aren't even paying attention to you? Or are you playing the long-term game of building that invisible, silent wealth that will eventually buy you absolute freedom? The choice is entirely up to you, and the best time to press start is right now.
Please like and subscribe.